Nobody before has traversed the whole of North Korea, come through the DMZ and traversed the whole of South Korea. No one has ever spanned the whole country. That's what the Koreans, both North and South, told us. It's an extremely mountainous country, very difficult to traverse. So very much this is a first, and I think that's what the Koreans in both parts really appreciated. I kept saying, isn't it ironic that here are these people, really nobodies, from a very modest country, who are able to traverse the whole of your mountain range that you all revere so much, and yet no Korean can do that. Isn't that a ridiculous tragedy that we have to solve? Here we are in Hallasan, right on the border with North Korea from Russia. So just across that river down there, in fact that might be the first North Korean building we can see down the other end.
Behind me is a yellow and orange passenger wagon, and it looks like the windows are blacked out so you don't see any secrets as you cross over the border. Tonight we're going to sleep in North Korea.
So now the task is to load up the bikes into this green wagon here, and away we go into North Korea. Pretty exciting. We love motorcycling. We'd like to know more about North Korea. I wonder if we can put those two things together. Not thinking for a moment that we'd ever pull it off. We've made no bones about it. We don't like the North Korean regime. There's no freedom of speech, there's no freedom of travel, there's no freedom of association, no freedom of representation. But there's a lot of systems around the world that we don't like. And yet countries have normalised relationships with each other.
Okay, so we've actually crossed over from Russia. We took a train that took us about 2 hours actually, to only go 2 kilometres. We've just cleared customs, we've had our GPSs confiscated and our phones looked at. We've got our phones back and some cameras have been confiscated because they have GPS in them.
The trip through the Koreas was done by 5 motorcyclists, all from New Zealand. There's myself, Gareth Morgan, and my wife,
Jo Morgan.
And we have 3 other guys with us.
Dave Wallace, who's a farmer, and Brendan Keogh, who runs a motorbike shop.
Tony Armstrong, who's in the electrical industry, so he's pretty handy on the bikes. You've got to have that, especially to these weird places where there's no infrastructure. We chose the route through North Korea. We had to obviously agree that route with the North Koreans many months in advance. We chose the route so that it followed the Baekdudaegan, the mountain range. It goes from pretty well the top of North Korea to the bottom of South Korea. That's the part that binds the Koreas, and that was pretty symbolic to follow that. It has huge significance for the Korean people, north or south. They all regard themselves as having originated from the mountains. Once we were on the road, actually travelling, we were escorted the whole way, so it's like a ginormous sort of motorcade with security vehicles in the front of the 5 bikes and behind the 5 bikes. That limited what we could do. They were generally quite tolerant, but there was no way that we were able to turn off down a road and go down it on our own free will.
박수!
Come round the corner and what do I find? Bikes and buckets in the stream, so they're having a clean up.
There was a movie made of this, working at the car wash.
Working at the car washer.
The older gentleman sort of had problems dealing with the fact that I was riding a bike. One of the chaps walked across and took me by my arm and escorted me across the bridge, you know, saying, "Be careful, dear." And I don't ride on the back of his bike.
No.
So this is my bike. I'm just hoping that they don't drop this one in. The bridge is out of commission, I think.
Oh, countryside is the career that you sort of love, don't you? I mean, it's green, it's unspoiled, they haven't ruined it by terracing up the hills. I mean, these folk manage the land properly for, you know, what, the whole country, 75 million, if you take the whole peninsula. They know how to manage land. A lot to be learnt from them.
When we were going through one of the areas, I said to our escorts that area didn't have enough crops growing to feed their people, so what the hell's going on there? Are they sort of picked on politically, or what happens that you've got an area that looks like that, and looks really poor? And he said, "Oh no, that's a mining town, and so it gets food from other areas." And you know, you sort of, you wonder if you're just reading stuff into what you see. That's vegetable curry.
I've got a lovely curry.
Oh, that was beautiful meat in that orangey sauce. What have you eaten, Brendan? Because there's nothing left.
I've had eggs, chicken, and...
You realise when you're taken into a restaurant and you're given a fantastic lunch that this is not the norm for most people in North Korea. There's not much left, all the scraps, the bones, and very well satisfied.
여기 세 개 있고 여기 두 개 있단 말이야. 그러니까 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷.
Got a room each, basically.
Is it?
Yeah, Gareth and Joe have got their own palace.
Got the works, yeah?
What you got there, Brendan?
Fridge, TV.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what this is for.
Yeah.
It's the works.
Very nice.
They're very proud people, and they, you know, they want to look after you and spoil you and all that. I don't think there's any pretense for one moment that that's how every North Korean lives.
I suppose that is no more than you'd do for any guest in your country too, that you take them to a place that perhaps isn't like you eat at home.
And now down to the east coast, and a day off tomorrow at the beach for surfing.
How have you found the people of DPRK so far?
The people are very cool.
Yeah.
When I wave to them or smile at them, some of them actually let out a shriek.
Yeah.
They can't believe that this person on the bike is, you know, a woman, I suspect.
How do they know you're a woman?
I'm very feminine, I'm very shapely, I've got big knockers.
So where are we going to today?
We are going up to Mount Paektu. This is going to be so special.
Yeah.
I'm actually hoping to get a bit of a skinny dip, which being a sacred lake, that's the kind of things Kiwis do. So we've made it to the top of Mount Paektu. It all changes by the minute with the clouds.
All Koreans from both sides can identify with the places we've been to. They all know about them, they all learn about them in school and so on. This motorcycle ride is about travelling the length of the Baekdudaegan from north to south, the mountains that bind all of the people of Korea together. We all dream that one day the oneness and the unity of Korea will be restored. Korea has been divided 68 years too long.
David, have you had a haircut?
Have I had a haircut?
Pyongyang special.
Where did you get that? Downstairs?
North Korea.
Get mine too.
Oh yes, very tidy. And have you had a haircut, Gareth?
No, not unless you've given it to me. You've been my hairdresser for 50 years.
You've just spoken to New Zealand. How did you do that in Pyongyang?
Oh, I can only do voice out, not voice in.
Grand People's Study House. We've got the two leaders, both departed now. The new leader, Kim Jong-un, isn't there. So we've got our bikes up here in the VIP parking. We go to the Aryang.
저희 앞에 보이는 건물들을 가로지르 한 콘크리트 뚜기 분사분 개선입니다. 높이 50cm, 높이 10cm밖에 안 되는 콘크리트 뚝 때문에 현재 1,000만이 넘는 도서민들이 자기 분모 형제의 진짜를 갈라집니다.
In the 80s, when I was standing on the DMZ on the south side looking across to the north, there was a group of old men there and sort of gazing north, crying, and that's always stayed with me, that huge longing that they had to reunite their families.
이렇게 보시는 것처럼 두 녀석이 산등점 앞에 받쳐져 있는 모습을 형성했어요. 하나를 상징했어요.
Onward now, we've had the goodbye ceremony and it's now time for us to find our way across this border, down into the south and home. Okay, that's the sound of let's get out of here, so let's get out of here.
Even the higher up people in the regime, the sort of the elite people you're talking to, they do want more for their kids. They want their kids to be able to travel. They want their kids not to be so stigmatized by being from North Korea or the DPRK.
There's a lot of baggage from this division, but peaceful coexistence is something that all Koreans want. And so the obvious question is, why can't they have it?
cleared North Korean customs. We're now in South Korea.
얘네들이 우리 나라를 갈라놓는 것에 대해서 자기들은 슬픈 감정을 느꼈다니까.
We must start taking steps to allow all Koreans to live in peace and prosperity.
To New Zealand and Korea.
Yay, New Zealand and Korea.
To Kiwis and Kimchis.
Kiwis and kimchi.
Kiwis and Kimchi.